Hello, I am Ratonomus Rat. If you are anything like me, a devilishly handsome rat in October of 2020, you probably have some experience with being in quarantine. That means you also have something in common with the people during the Black Plague of the 14th century, which I have nothing to do with. The Black Plague, which I had nothing to do with, was a devastating global epidemic that struck Europe and Asia in the mid-1300s. The plague arrived in Europe when ships from the Black Sea docked at the Sicilian port of Messina. People gathered on the docks were met with a horrifying surprise. Most sailors aboard the ships were dead, and those still alive were gravely ill and covered in black boils that oozed blood and pus. Ew. As for how to stop the disease, people still had no scientific understanding of contagion, but they knew that it had something to do with proximity. That's why forward-thinking officials in Venice decided to keep newly arrived sailors in isolation until they could prove they weren't sick. This practice began in an effort to protect coastal cities from the Black Plague, which I had nothing to do with. Ships arriving in Venice from infected ports were required to sit at anchor for 40 days before landing. This practice, called quarantine, is a direct descendant of quarantina, the Italian word for a 40-day period. Why 40 days? Health officials may have prescribed a 40-day quarantine because the number had great symbolic and religious significance to medieval Christians. When God flooded earth, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and Jesus fasted in the wilderness for 40 days. While this helped to decrease the plague's spread, it was still a devastating time to try and stay alive. So when you're asked to wear a mask, don't complain. You could have been stuck in a rat-infested ship for 40 days. I would also like to clear up the common misconception that us rats had anything to do with the Black Plague. It was obviously the cats.